Way back when I first started kind of getting into lifting weights, I was immediately hooked. I was obsessed. I spent all day in my classes writing down potential workouts in a little notebook. I was seeking out as much information as I could possibly find on anything training related. I was watching bodybuilding, I was watching Olympic weightlifting, anything I could find on YouTube at that time. I just wanted to know how to get better. I wanted to understand, and I would like write down and compare and contrast. At that time, Mark Bell's Super Training was a very big channel, and he would fly lifters out and interview them, and I would write down their methods, and I would see what the differences were and what guys were doing to get better. And I was thinking about it all the time. And that kind of obsession paired with this big base that I built up from having done a bunch of calisthenics alongside my boxing training prior, I was really willing to try very hard. And the fact that I had like a knack for it, I had a natural aptitude for being strong despite being a relatively skinny guy. I progressed really well through that first year, that first 2 years. And it was very rare. I don't think it was a very long time before I got around someone that was meaningfully strong or even stronger than me. And while I had a lot of information out there on the internet, and I was learning new things every day, and I felt like I was pretty reasonable in trying to index those against each other and grow this good holistic understanding of how lifting works, I certainly could have avoided some silly mistakes had I had someone at the gym that was stronger than me. I was very might makes right. I would have listened to anything anybody strong had to say and be like, well, he's stronger than me. He knows what he's fucking talking about. I probably could have avoided some silly mistakes if there was like a good, competent lifter. But at my little YMCA that I trained at, there was no one squatting more than me, at least to depth. There was nobody who's particularly good at deadlifting. There was one big guy, in retrospect, roided up, training absolutely terribly, that was deadlifting about the same as me. And that was about it. But there were these several guys, these middle-aged guys, big beer gut, like had some big guns on them, that were very good at the bench press, that were well ahead of me. There was these local guys at the little YMCA I trained at in Seattle that were like benching mid 300s. I want to say one of them could do 405 for like 1 or 2 reps. And I was very keen to talk to those guys and study. And I'd seen these guys squat and deadlift, and they were atrocious. They were really not particularly good at it. But clearly they had a system devised for the bench press that was working quite well because all 3 of them were very good benchers. Like, sure, relative to their body weight, they were kind of bulked up to do the benching, but clearly the system they had stumbled upon worked. So I remember just being a young teenage kid, and one of them, super nice guy, definitely learned to lift in prison because he was doing the gardening gloves. Super cool guy. I went and I bugged the guys and I was like, dude, I got to get my bench press up. I'm stuck. What do you guys recommend? And really their advice in retrospect, right? If we give them like a little bit of favorable phrasing, it boiled down to just 3 things. You got to learn how to get tight. You got to do a lot of training for your pecs and get a big chest, and then never ever skip your tricep isos, and don't be afraid to do high rep work for these goals. And in retrospect, I'm like, damn, that is a very good distilled version of what I think a lot of guys could do to get their bench press up. And the other one that I always noticed, and I noticed it immediately, was not just them, but a lot of guys online that were big bench pressers at the time. A lot of the best bench specialists in the world, including like Eric Spoto, were not afraid to track rep PRs on their assistance work all the way out to 30 plus reps. Like it'd be like, oh, that's a PR set of these skull crushers. I got 25 reps at the 60s. I've never done that before. They would do lots of high rep bench pressing and lots of high rep assistance work, which not very popular nowadays. Holy calcium ions. But they didn't seem overly systemically fatigued, and trying to beat a bunch of PRs in a variety of rep ranges really seemed to be a staple of them and a lot of other high level bench pressers at the time routines, from anywhere from like some of the like Northern European IPF guys, as well as the dudes in prison, as well as Eric Spoto, these elite bench specialists. I noticed we're training a wider variety of rep ranges than their really good squat and deadlift counterparts. And that was something that really kind of got my bench moving. And as much as I want to make these videos entertaining or showing off some lift that I did, I always want the running theme in the background to be actionable stuff to help you guys get stronger, because a bunch of you are weirdos like me that are very concerned with getting strong for no good reason. And I was thinking about it, I was like, man, that advice really, really holds up well. Bench pressing for tracking a variety of rep ranges, as long as you're maintaining your tightness pretty well. Track PRs a little bit past what you're used to. If you had a terrible day, maybe just load up a plate and hit a PR with the most reps you've ever done with a plate. Take that mental win for the day. Grease the groove a little bit, as they would talk about in calisthenics. But it's like, I see the average guy at the gym and I'm like, oh man, if they just did those three things, they might be in a pretty good spot, which is just learn how to get your whole body tight. If you're comfortable when you unrack the bar, you're not very good at benching. If you get your whole body kind of taut like a bowstring, you're going to be able to display a lot more power, right? Our body throttles force output when it perceives instability. So if we can create this like almost artificially stable environment, we're going to be able to display truly the top end of what our triceps, shoulders, and pecs are able to output force-wise. So a lot of guys just need to learn how to get tighter. A lot of guys, if you just learn how to train your pecs, load into a stretch, feel that stretch in the muscle belly of your pec, not in your front delt, drive out, maybe squeeze with some pec flies. That's what I would always see these guys do. They would finish up their benching, they would do some drop sets, and then they would immediately go on to some dumbbell benching and some kind of fly. And they would just put in a bunch of sets, try to get a big pec pump, learn how to train the chest, learn how to feel the chest, and just, I know it's not a great problem, whatever. Don't crucify me here, but try to get your chest sore at least once a week. Whatever that is for you, if it's push-ups, if it's deficit push-up, if it's dumbbell bench press, if it's flies. Once you finish your benching, do an exercise that reliably gets your chest a little bit sore. Learn how to feel your chest. Learn how to get the chest sore without heating up the shoulders. Massive skill that will help you. Don't think about trying to get stronger in your bench press using your pec flies. Just try to train your pecs effectively and assume that the bench pressing will do that itself. Learn to train your pecs, get a nice pec pump, maybe get a little sore, pretend I didn't say that, don't report me. And then just every time you bench, whether it's 2 or 3 days a week, a lot of routines would be 2 to 3 days a week, do a bunch of triceps at the end. Don't be afraid to really throw the kitchen sink at it. Train a bunch of different rep ranges. Be like, okay, I do dumbbell sculls and then I do press downs, or maybe I need to warm up my elbows. So I do press downs, then I do dumbbell sculls. Track a variety of rep ranges. Try to collect a sub 10 rep PR, a 10 to 15 PR, and then a 15 to 20 rep PR, and then move on to that second exercise, right? You'll see some people out there that are like, oh, actually doing 3 sets of triceps is excessive. You won't be able to recover from that. Calcium ions, high rep. You'll be fine. Cook them up pretty good. Maybe your next pressing session will take a hit for a little bit, but you'll make these cool local adaptations like increasing the mitochondrial density, the satellite cell density, the capillary density. You can train to get better at recovering from. Cook up those triceps. Do a good bit of volume. Don't be afraid of high rep sets. Every time you bench, leave with a nasty tricep pump, triceps fatigue for a little bit. It will pay off. And don't be afraid to throw some volume at it. You don't have to go full prime fucking RP, 40 sets a week. You don't have to do that shit. And you also don't have to limit it to like 3 work sets once a week, or I guess it would be full body guys would be like, no, it's like 1 work set or 2 work sets done this many times a week. Just fucking cook them up a couple of times, man. It'll pay off. So if you can look at your training, you're like, all right, don't get tight well. Work on that. If you're like, man, I don't really know how to train my pecs. Start rotating through chest exercises. Learn how to load that stretch. Learn how to squeeze your pec a little bit. Just learn how to train your pecs. Don't worry about the weights. And then fucking crush your triceps. If your elbows are limiting, start with bands, then switch to rope. You just kind of want to follow this compendium of how taxing the exercise is on your elbow joint to make sure the muscle is the limiting factor. Band press downs tends to be the easiest on the joint. Rope, then maybe straight bar press downs, then maybe like a neutral grip skull crusher with a dumbbell is a little bit easier. And then probably the highest end of that kind of elbow stress compendium would be like straight bar skulls, or like palms up overheads tend to be more invasive on the elbows than like a neutral position. Don't rush ahead of where you're at on that kind of building up tolerance in the elbow. A lot of guys be like, oh, I can't do skulls. But then we'll work on like maybe really high rep skulls for a little bit, or we'll go 1 shy on that compendium and cook up the triceps in the absence of heating up the tendon a couple of times a week. And then we reintroduce the skulls. They're like, oh, it's totally fine. A lot of that elbow pain is just that your tricep tendon is not very strong yet. Tendons adapt to training. I will say some of you guys have mentioned, and I see this in real life, I think you're 100% valid in your noticing of it, that you need to limit the volume. Okay, that's fine. You just are like, no matter what exercise I do, I'm a little bit limited on tricep volume due to elbows. Absolutely work within that constraint, but I do think that the band press downs might be your friend. And if we're making a video on tips for increasing your bench press or how to get your bench press up, I would be remiss to mention that gaining weight does absolutely work, especially if you're a skinnier guy, right? The bench press, it's going to be really important to increase the size of the primary movers. All else equal, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, and the bench press is very, very, very correlated with the size of those primary movers, more so than something like a deadlift where we get a little bit more room for good leverages, good technique, good neural efficiency to carry us, and maybe this guy doesn't even have the biggest hamstrings, but damn, look at that deadlift. Generally speaking, when you see a big bench presser, you see big pecs, big triceps, big shoulders. And so the surplus probably would potentiate that pretty well, but not just that. If we're a little bit on the skinnier side, as we fill out our leverages, our ability to create and maintain tightness will improve if we kind of rise that BMI a little bit from being excessively skinny. And you're going to be able to create more tightness. And that will kind of lead to bench press just feeling better, period. You might even improve your relative to body weight strength, or you likely will improve your relative to body weight strength by actually gaining weight. You know, we see like, if we go pure body weight multipliers, no super heavyweight lifter is particularly good, right? Like Hafthor's deadlift, I mean, particularly good, right? All relative, but I'm a better deadlifter than Hafthor if we go off of just body weight multipliers. They don't scale linearly. That's not how that works, right? A high level, lower weight class lifter will always win on body weight multipliers by quite a bit over their high level counterparts. And that's why we have to kind of go off of like who's winning percentile of the class type of deal. But as we initially put on weight and we fill out our leverages, even though we're getting a little bit heavier, even our relative strength given a little bit of time will actually be better than if we capped ourselves too skinny of a body weight. Now, if you just said, fuck it, no weight classes in the jungle, body weight multipliers are for ants, I don't give a shit about my health mode, and you just dreamer bulked your way up to morbidly obese, and you did all this high volume bench training, you got your form real good, your bench would go to the moon. It will go up and up and up and up. And a lot of people, people are like, the average person can't bench 3 plates. Only people with elite genetics can. Well, the average person, if they bulked up to 315 pounds, could do a body weight bench press. So it's contingent on how much you're willing to gain weight. Most people could, I say. If you get fat enough, you could probably do 3 plates. Call me crazy, call me delusional. But I'm pretty sure if you get fat enough, you can do 3 plates. It's just whether you're willing to or whether it's a good idea to get that heavy. So if you care about absolute weight, getting unbelievably heavy. Look at most of the people with the heaviest bench presses ever. You'll see people that are pretty meaningfully overweight. I'm going to recommend against that because even if you do it, you're like, oh, look at how much my bench press went up. Eventually, you're going to get really tired of being out of breath all the time. Your low back pumping up, going up a flight of stairs is brutal. And you might, consider that dying is not good. And you'll be like, oh, shit, I shouldn't have done that. Powerlifting sucks. Instead, how about we powerlift in a reasonable way, right? Whether that is you just have a really slow rate of gain and you draw out your bulks for a really long time, or whether you like pushing your calories a little bit more and then you include more frequent mini cuts to kind of drop back some of that fat, gain, strip the fat, gain, strip the fat, whether you like pushing up to a new body weight and then just maintaining that for a while and then pushing up to a new body weight, maintaining that for a while. I don't know, go ask some bodybuilder. Which one of those works best for you psychologically is probably what's going to be best for you in the long run. But if you're in that category of guys that are coming into this a little bit on the skinny side, you need to have your strategy. Any of those 3 is probably going to work. Whichever one you can adhere to, compliance is the science, is going to be best for you. But you need to have some kind of plan to climb your body weight. If you want to do the best benching that your body, your genetics are capable of, it's going to likely for you require climbing your body weight. If you're someone who's getting into lifting and is already overweight, this might be a moot point. It's not that you need to increase your BMI anymore. It's your leverages are already filled out in terms of your body weight. You need to just gain a lot more muscle. You need to fill out your frame with muscle. You need to, potentially kind of recompose where you're at. Or you could come down and then come back up. You could take the slightly longer road and just wait for body recomposition, because people say, oh, that's slow, that's stupid. If all of your training metrics are going up, your 8 rep max on everything is going up all the time, you're gaining muscle. You could just wait that out. It's not maybe as healthy as if we come down and come up, but that's an option as well. That's totally up to you guys. But that would be my thoughts. That's kind of what I was thinking in terms of what would help people with like getting their bench press up. If I just had to talk to a broad audience of guys at the gym, and I immediately made me think of those guys from the YMCA. I was like, damn. Those guys had it like maybe not full figured out. They never knew how to peak. And I always was like, man, you guys could bench a little bit more if you didn't just do nothing but drop sets all the time. Man, they kind of had it figured out. They kind of had a pretty good plan that kept working for them, and it worked for every guy that kind of started being their training partner and working under their, like, that was what really got me interested, was the fact that everybody that started working out with them, their bench press went up. That shit does work. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you to the Patreon guys for supporting the channel. It means a lot to me.